friends, welcome to a process video, and this is my 10 handmade cards 1 homemade kit August version, and we're going to start off with card number 1. So like I said in my previous video, one of the things that I really wanted was to create a a sunburst, sorry, with this stencil. And so that's going to be my first card. I don't know if you noticed, but the card is actually the back side of a pattern paper. I wanted to use the white part of it, and because I have a lot of pattern papers from this kit, I decided to just use the back side of the paper instead of getting a white cardstock. And I did cut that out with my favorite scallop kind of frame die from my favorite things. And so now I'm using 3 different kinds of yellow distress inks. The first one was scattered straw, and then this one's mustard seed, and then I'm also going to go in there and do some wild honey just in the centers of it so that there's a lot more dimension. And I gotta say, this technique does not get old for me. I really like the result of the sunburst and using just 3 different colors of distress ink, and how it just makes that that design just come out, pop up. So I really love this one. Now initially I thought that this was going to be a vertical card. I just thought that in my head it will look better that way, but because the sentiment stamp is really big, I decided to go with a horizontal card instead. I'm using my Tim Holtz stamp positioner because I wanted to position, or I wanted to stamp that sentiment a little bit or twice so that I can make sorry, so I can make a good impression on it. And so I'm doing that, and I did kind of put a little bit of powder on there just to make sure that it doesn't stick where I don't want it. But word of warning though, it's because I stamped it and I didn't really let that background dry a little bit more. There were a few more powder on places that I didn't want, so I just grabbed a dry brush and just brushed off all of the powder as much as I can, and I'm happy with the results of it. And I did heat emboss that with some black ink, and then I was auditioning some card bases, and I went with a pink one, and that is card number 1. I know that the process is a little bit faster than normal. I did speed it up to 4 times just because I felt like if it was just my regular 2 times, this video will be really long. And so prior to starting off my video, I had pre-stamped and colored all of the images that I wanted from that Simple Story stamp set. That is one of my favorite things that I did for this kit, was stamping that and then coloring it. It's just, I don't know, I just really enjoyed that part of it. And I did use a lot of Spectrum Noir color or markers for that, and that is my favorite marker to date. Now I'm using this 12 circle part, and I wanted to use one of the circles as a base or a place to house my sentiment. And because it's a small one, I had to go with a small sentiment, and I found this one that says happy summer days. And because my spot is a circle, I had to cut the line, that sentiment line, into words so that I could fit that into the circle. Now, a little tip is that because this is so small, I can't really see the spacing of it. And so initially I had stamped it, and I just felt like it was a little too like wide in the whatchamacallit, the spacing on it was a little too wide, and so that's why it's nice to just stamp it off on a scrap first. And then initially I had wanted it to be just black ink, but it wasn't coming out really good, and so I stamped it again with just some Versamark and then heat emboss the sentiment, and then now I'm happy with it. And this is going to be fairly flat card. I decided, I mean, I was toying with the idea of maybe just adding some adhesive to that circle so that my elements would have, would have dimension, or that frame would have dimension. But I just decided, no, I'm just going to keep it flat. That was something that I struggle with, especially when I want the card to be mailed, is that when there's too much dimension, then I have to add extra stamp to the envelope. So I'm just deciding to make this flat. It's not going to be really flat because I will be adding some rhinestones to it, but for the most part it's a one-dimensional, or not one-dimensional because there are a few things here, layers added, but for the most part it is going to be a flat card. And this is something that I really enjoy doing, just adding little bits and pieces, just trying to find some nice some elements to add to those circles. And as you can see, I tried to scatter them around, especially with the colors, making sure that like the purples are not too close together, the yellows are not too close together. So I did kind of spread them apart just to add a little bit more interest. The only thing that was hard over here was that because I have stubby nails, I don't have any long nails, that it was, I wanted to tuck in those elements, and so it was a little bit hard to tuck them in because I don't have any nails to pry those things open. But here is the finished card. So now we go on to card number 3. So this is very similar to card number 2, wherein that I am going to be using some items to put into those 12 circle holes. But instead of using some stamped images, I am going to use some of those cardstock stickers that I had picked for this particular kit. And this is going to go fairly fast because my images have already been, it's already done. I don't have to stamp and color it. So if you don't have time to do the stamp and coloring, you can always go with smaller stickers for your elements. And I think this is also good if you wanted to use up some stickers that you probably maybe won't use as, if they're too small that you can't use them for cards or scrapbooking, you can always use a bunch of them here. And I also like doing this technique with items such as these, where it's very themed, if the theme is very strong, as in the beach theme. And so just compiling them into one card gives them a little bit more impact than if you were just using one or two of them. Now, as you can see, I did use up all of the circles, and so I have to have a space for my sentiment. So instead of putting them in one of the circle blocks, I am just going to put that over the card. Now I am stamping it with the black ink again, but because I didn't use my stamp positioner and I wanted to restamp it, it didn't work out. So instead of just stamping, I just decided to turn over that white piece of cardstock and then just heat embossed it. Now, as I was finishing up this card, I noticed that it just was missing something, and I wanted to keep it still a fairly flat card, so I just decided to add some pin stitching all around the frame just to kind of give it a little bit more accent without adding any more bulk to the card. But let me know, did the pen stitching work here, or do you think I should have made it a little bit more dimensional? I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Let me know in the description box below. Speaking of description box below, if you have any questions, make sure that you leave that in the description box below, and I will try to answer it as fast as I can. And I also appreciate all of the comments that you guys leave in any of my videos. If you are new to my channel, or this is the first video that you've ever seen from me, make sure that you check out my YouTube channel. I have a lot of playlists there. I do paper crafting, that means scrapbooking and card making, and also some home decor and mini albums if I feel like doing it. So next one, we're gonna go on to card number 4, and with this one, With this one, I am using a fairly neutral background here because I do want to do some stamping. I had kind of contemplated if I wanted to do just white, but I had a lot of pattern papers that I picked for this particular kit, so might as well use it. But I did use some subtle ones instead. Now, I like the sunglasses, and so I'm going to play around with that. But I had pre-cut my pattern paper base with the scallop, and I want to contain all of my elements are just onto that stitched part. So I'm just using some low contact washi, or low tack I should say, washi for this, and then so that I can stamp kind of on the edge without it going through the scallop part of the pattern paper. So I'm just moving my pattern, or sorry, my washi there, and I did kind of have or add a pencil line around it because I know that I have this big block of sentiment, and so I don't need to stamp the image all over my paper because it's going to be covered up with a stamp, or yeah, with a sentiment block anyways. And then I'm just using some more of the Spectrum Noir markers, and I did set aside all of the markers that I used for when I stamped and colored the small images, because I wanted to use those same colors with the rest of the cards, because I knew that that's going to be the best way for me to make sure that all of these cards match each other if I use the same color markers here. And then that star is just one of the sticker sheets that, or stickers from the sticker sheets from Paper House. And then I added that with some fun foam just to make that stand out a little bit more. Now, because the sunglasses kind of needed a little bit more, I know, I decided to use my Nuvo glitter pen, shimmer pen, I think that's what it's called, and I'm just adding some shimmer to the actual lens part of the sunglasses, kind of like, you know, when the sun hits our sunglasses, it makes it shimmer a little bit. And I added a little bit more to the sun, and that's my card. So card number 5 is using the die cut, and I did pre-die all of that, and I used the pattern papers because again, I have a lot of those, and so I decided to use that one. Now I am just kind of cutting out some of the items here, and I have to say this was hard just because I have pattern papers and I really wanted to use it, and some of the colors just, I don't know, I I gotta say, it's hard for me to create a scene with pattern paper. That's one of the things that I have found out that was really hard. But I'm going to plug along and just kind of use this. And if I were to do this again, I am definitely going to use a plain background because it was, I don't know, it just feels like a little too busy for my eye. But let me know in the description box below if it works, and I'm kind of curious what you think. So I am just cutting out some of the items that I pre-cut. I did kind of plan this out, making sure that I pick, like, you know, the green pattern paper for the green of the palm leaves of the tree, and kind of use some orange and yellow for the sun and all of that. And so now that I have my scene, I am going to start adhering them. I do want to cut, again, I want to keep my scene to that inside of that pattern paper block, and so I'm measuring it just to make sure that the blocks will match, just fitting it right there. And I'm going to trim these up and kind of make sure that I fit that in, and then I'm just going to basically put that in together. So as I am doing this, I just want to let you know that if you like these videos, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. You will only see me do 5 cards in this particular video, and then the next video will have cards number 6 through 10, and maybe a bonus card as well. So if you like these videos, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing, and make sure that you hit that bell button so that YouTube will notify you when I upload a new video. And if you like these videos, please also consider sharing so that other people will get to know me and get to know what I do here. So here is basically card number 5. I will just finish it off again with some rhinestones, and then I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you have a great day. Bye.